Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 Week 14 DraftKings Picks and preview by position, starting with stacks, then going by the best plays of the best positions. Hit the time codes if you want to skip to a particular position. If you want the DraftKings cheat sheet that will be released on Saturday on DKNation.com. And if you want the best tools in the biz, do I have a deal for you? RunTheSims.com is only $100 for the rest of the year. So week 14 through the Super Bowl, great savings. But if you go to RunTheSims.com/Mayo, you get another 10% off. So you might want to take advantage of that. An optimizer, lineup builders. You can run any game or any player's prop 10,000 times as a simulation and then get the range of outcomes. Make things very easy on yourself and all completely customizable if you have a particular lean on a game. Remember to smash the like button for the video, sub to Mayo Media Network, and if you want to play in the best tournament on DraftKings, the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League, the link is available in the description. $15 to play, 3 max entry, no rake. Pulling pinch hit duty, calling him off the bench because I had a guest who ghosted me this morning, and you know who you are. I'm not going to call you out publicly, although the people will find out. But Davis Mattek from DailyRoto.com and the TakeCast podcast stepping in. Thanks, dude.
Hey, happy to be here. Unfortunately, not the greatest slate in NFL DFS history. I feel like last week's slate was really good and looks a lot thinner this week.
Well, we only have the one big game that I think that people are going to gravitate towards.
Right.
Like when you look at the total, you got Bills and Bucks. That comes in at a 53 game total. The Bucks are like 28.5 in terms of team total. You have the Bills at 25.5. I believe besides the Cowboys, the Bills and Bucks have the two highest implied totals, and the Chiefs at 29.5, of course. So when we're thinking about like game stacks, obviously that's where people are going to gravitate towards right off the hop, and I can't really blame them for that. Although, when we try to come up with pieces for that game, like how do you think you stack that game properly? Is it 3 Bucks, 1 Bills, 3 Bills, 1 Buck? Like, where are you going?
So I think it's probably using the tight ends when you're doing your stack. So if you're doing Brady, using Gronk. If you're doing Josh Allen, using Dawson Knox. Clearly Godwin and Diggs are going to garner most of the ownership there. Diggs probably in single entry settles like 15 to 20%. Godwin will be even higher than that. He'll probably be closer to 20 at 7,100. So, you're going to get a nice little discount as always on Mike Evans, who always has that, multi-touchdown upside. And then the same is true for Cole Beasley, Manny Sanders. No one wants to play Manny Sanders at this stage.
Well, why would you want to play Manny Sanders when Gabe Davis seems like he's just the better option?
He is, but I mean, Gabe Davis runs like no routes. Like he really barely plays. He scored the touchdown against New England, but he played 28% of the snaps. He's been over 50% of the snaps 2 times the entire season. Sanders, plays more than him every single game, has had more snaps than Gabriel Davis in every single game. He just is old and bad. So that seems to be like a problem.
Well, it comes down to an efficiency thing too. Like you can track the routes and track the snaps all you want, but if the ball is just not going in that direction, at least with Gabe Davis, when he's on the field, like he's one of their priority targets.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's fair. Like his targets per route run would be way higher. And he also has the commiserate way better price. Manny Sanders on DK is 4,900. Gabe Davis is 3,500. And also, I mean, because we don't have some of those glaringly obvious running back values that we had last week, it probably does project to be a slightly lower scoring slate in general. So, maybe like 14 from Gabe Davis can be optimal, no problem.
Would you think about doing it the other side, going like Josh Allen and bringing it back with Fournette and just hoping it's one of these rushing attack games? Not that Brady's not going to throw for his yardage, but you just hope that Fournette sneaks in twice from the 1 yard line. And then all of a sudden, the overall upside of the Bucs receivers are kind of muted.
Yeah. I mean, we have Fournette for 20% projected ownership, but 30% probability to be in the optimal lineup right now. So I don't think that's wrong at all. Fournette is probably the best running back play when you combine, ceiling projection, ownership and, chances to make the optimal lineup.
Just trying to think of the other pieces in this game. Fortunately for Brashad Perriman, AJ Tyrell isn't going to be shadowing him for no apparent reason this week, but he was just on the field. Like, he has replaced Antonio Brown right now. Now, I don't know exactly who's going to be active and who's not for the Bucs, but it does seem like Perriman's going to be their wide receiver 3. Like, if you wanted to take a shot at the unknown guy at the cheapest price, wouldn't he be the one?
And he gets deep targets too, right? So he can get there. He doesn't need to be like an every down part of the offense to get there, because he gets the deep balls. I actually had completely missed that last week, that basically Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson got flipped in their roles, which is it's pretty fascinating that Perriman, has had this wild journey of a career. But I think you're right. I mean, I think Perriman does look like the best punt on the Buccaneers side of the ball. But the best way to approach the Buccaneers is to play Gronk with Brady. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, Gronk with Brady, and that does, like you said, kind of alleviate some of the ownership on Mike Evans. But in games when Gronk is played, it's really boom or bust for Mike Evans.
I mean, Mike Evans is boomer bust this season in general, because he just doesn't have that high target role. He's been targeted double digits, looks like 5 times in general, but that you'd think like, oh, that means he has got this like huge share of the offense, but it doesn't really, because they throw so often. Like, he has a sub 20% target share on the year, which is wild considering all their guys. But I mean, he and Gronk are the guys who have the 3 touchdown upside, and Evans will be 30% as owned as Godwin in single entry 3 max contest, probably.
So when we take a look at the team totals, like I said, both the Bills and the Bucs rate out to be, both inside the top 4 in terms of team totals. 53.5 is the over under in that game. If you're not going to just overload on this game, what are like the one-off pieces? Because you probably still want to have some exposure to it. Would it be Fournette?
I mean, depending on what you're doing with your lineup, it would probably be Godwin for me. But again, the running back position, not nearly as strong this week with values. The values are looking like Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, and Tevin Coleman if he's able to play with this concussion.
Pass on Tevin Coleman.
I mean, look, Tevin Coleman has a difficult matchup, but he's gotten a bunch of the work. He's gotten the goal line work. And if Tevin Coleman doesn't play, by the way, because he's dealing with the concussion stuff, Ty Johnson is free, basically.
Yeah, I could see if it was only Ty Johnson to play Ty Johnson, but I mean, if Tevin Coleman is out there, like, what do you realistically expect from Tevin Coleman? He has 1 game of double-digit DraftKings points this year. That was last week, and he had 10.7. Like, he's not helping you.
I mean, I'm not playing him, but I'm trying to be comprehensive for the folks. You know what? Actually, it's probably going back to Jamal Williams. It's probably the cheap running back play, and just hoping that it was kind of a 1-week fluke.
Well, how much? Obviously, injuries are going to severely impact this slate because a bunch of guys popped up midweek.
Yeah, I'm looking looking at my projections right now, and I'm like, this is going to be so different on Sunday morning, because I don't know what to do with the Chargers players with the COVID stuff. Like, it's a nightmare right now.
Well, let's go through some of these different injury scenarios. So let's start with the Chargers. Keenan Allen is on the COVID list, although he still technically has a chance to play as of this recording, as does Mike Williams. And I mean, Keenan Allen is vaccinated, so a double negative test by Saturday. He can play on Sunday. Mike Williams is unvaxxed, but he's only a close contact.
But he's only a close contact.
Yeah. So I'm thinking Mike Williams is going to play. Allen is not going to play, and that's going to make Jalen Guyton like the Uber chalk. I am good with fading Jalen Guyton, by the way.
So the thing that people don't realize is that Jalen Guyton's role is not going to change. He is a wind sprinter, the guy who is going to fill in for Keenan snaps. It's going to be a combination of Josh Palmer and Jared Cook, who you love playing shitty old players who play a lot. I feel like Jared.
I hate Jared Cook. I never play Jared Cook. Rather play.
I do. I know. Yeah. In a perfect world, it would be Parham, but it's just going to be Jared Cook running. And they're going to play, the Chargers play 4 tight ends anyways. They're going to be playing so many tight ends in this game. But Palmer is the dart that I am much more excited to throw. Jalen Guyton's role is not going to change, in my opinion.
I just don't think I want any part of it. when you look at what happens when Keenan Allen is out, at least last year, and obviously it's a different offensive system, it's just all Mike Williams, all Austin Eckler. Like, those are the two guys that you want to play. Just don't worry about the other two.
Yeah, no, you're right. You definitely are. You definitely are correct about that. I mean, it's just it's a nightmare situation, and the answer is probably just to play a lot of Austin Eckler. It's also kind of a bummer because I was excited to play Herbert this week, but I like Herbert a lot less with Keenan Allen out.
Well, yes and no, because I think a lot of people like Justin Herbert a lot less with Keenan Allen out. But if you can now consolidate where his targets are going, like I think Mike Williams saw like a 44% share of the deep air yards when Keenan Allen missed time last year and over a 25% market share. Like, you could probably just get away with playing Herbert and Mike Williams. Hopefully Williams has the big, huge game, and then Steven Anderson catches a touchdown, and then Parham catches a touchdown. Like, it's going to be too difficult to predict the rest of them, but most of the funnel is going to go through Mike Williams, or play Eckler with them. And hopefully it's a big receiver.
Yeah, but I mean, playing super chalky Mike Williams doesn't sound that fun to me either. Like, playing like 19% on Mike Williams does not sound like that good of a time.
Okay, I mean, I'm with you on that front, but I think you could get away with. I just think with all these injuries, Mike Williams will independently be very popular. I don't know necessarily if Chargers stack is going to be super popular.
Well, it won't. I don't think it will be. And the other thing is, it's certainly not an ideal place for a bring back, because it looks like Jake Fromm is going to be quarterbacking for the New York Giants this weekend. Which, if you've never seen Jake Fromm's work, it's not pretty.
Additionally, it looks like Tony Shepard and Gull. It looks like Shepard might actually play this week. He's been practicing on a limited basis. Not sure about Tony. Galladay is not practicing, so Lord knows it's Slayton and a bunch of jabronis that they're rolling. My guy, Pharaoh Cooper, like, if we can find over under 4.5 yards for his receiving prop, probably take the over.
I wish Tony was playing, because this does actually feel like a spot where their game plan would just be very Tony centric. Right? Because short passing, trying to move the ball, short passing as a substitute for the run game or whatever. But, it does not look like he's going to play, which is a bummer, because we've been waiting for a good Kadarius Toney slate.
Well, this is a good Saquon Barkley slate. If his ankle is good enough to play, which it looks like it's going to be, it's a perfect matchup. He sucks, but no one has better. You were just talking about Emmanuel Sanders. Barkley's better than him.
Barkley is better than Emmanuel Sanders, and this is a week where I think ownership is going to get really condensed at running back between Fournette, Gibson, Eckler, Kamara, and Javonte Williams. So looking for potential pivots off of that. The other big question on the week is what is going on with the 49ers backfield, right? Is Jeff Wilson Jr. going to play with this knee injury flare up? Or even if he does play, is JaMychal Hasty going to run ahead of him? Eli Mitchell not only is dealing with a concussion, but apparently had to have an MRI on his knee as well. 49ers running backs are like fantasy sports gold, but that situation is muddled at best.
If Mitchell is out, which he is trending to be right now,
I
would go with Hasty. Hasty has run.
I agree.
Hasty has run ahead of Jeff Wilson when both of them are active in every game this season. Now, maybe it's because they want Hasty to play more of a receiving role, and this probably just turns into a situation where Hasty ends up with like 17 touches, Wilson gets 3, but all of 3 of Wilson's touches are from the 1-yard line for 3 touchdowns. That's just how this ends up working.
Hasty, it's a nightmare, because this is the 49ers running backs last week. 49 snaps for Elijah Mitchell, 2 for Jeff Wilson, 1 for JaMychal Hasty. Nightmare. I mean, it's really a nightmare.
But in a slate where there's no obvious value, Hasty is $4,000.
Oh, and he is going to be stone chalk, because with Hasty, yes, and this is why everyone wants to do these Buccaneers stacks, but the Buccaneers guys are super expensive. So when you have that correlation, I think that's going to make Hasty super. Especially if Jeff Wilson Jr. is out. But I mean, either way, I agree with your point that Hasty seems like he will run ahead of Jeff Wilson Jr., mostly because Jeff Wilson Jr. had an audition in this role, and he got 21 touches for 61 yards and looked terrible.
Hey, if he had just caught that touchdown, everything would have been forgiven.
That was not his fault. That was all on Mr. Jimmy G.
Well,
but you're right.
Yes, but maybe he could have pulled a James Conner from last week and just made an immaculate catch and ran to the end zone. He was already in the end zone.
How amazing was that play?
It was fucking
How
awesome.
amazing was that play?
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was like, yeah. I actually, it's unpopular opinion. I actually really like James Conner, so it's cool to me when he does cool stuff like that.
I mean, this is not on this slate. This is a main slate only. Do you think Edmonds ends up coming back this week?
I honestly have not heard any, like I heard he was getting close, but I have not looked this week. Let's see if we can get a RotoWire update or a RotoWorld update. Or it's not even, it's NBC Sports Edge. Cardinals coach Cliff Kingsbury says he won't return until week 14. That's the most recent update. So
well, it is week 14.
We don't know yet. Yeah. So that was the last update on him.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to go. And it's a Monday night game. So for like season-long leagues, you're kind of fucked either way. I just play Connor. Connor's the better play anyway because he scores the touchdowns.
Anyway.
Like he is the safest floor. Obviously, if Edmonds scores a touchdown, he's likely to score way more than Connor just based on what he does. But first game back. He does. And the Cardinals have been pretty good about, hey, why don't you get yourself 100% healthy and then you can come back? We're playing for the playoffs here.
Right. No, you're right. And I mean they rested DeAndre Hopkins. They've rested guys basically as much as humanly possible. So I would lean towards him not playing. And teams have done that. It's not even just been the Cardinals. Like most teams have done that with their guys from the designated for return IR. Like the Chiefs did that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, basically taking as much time as possible to get them fully healthy.
And they're doing it with Julio this week as well in Tennessee, where it's kind of iffy whether or not he plays. I don't think he's going to play, but I mean, who cares for one thing? But that's actually another team. Like when you look,
I don't know. It's kind of actually a spot for Julio Jones because he's $5,400 against the freaking Jaguars. Like everyone's a good play against the Jaguars.
And when you look at the team totals for the week, like I said, it's Bucks at 28.5. The Chiefs have the highest at 29.5, and then you have three teams at 26.5. The Cowboys, the Chargers, and Les Titans are right there too, and no one is going to play any Titans.
No one is going to play any Titans, but actually we have Hilliard, Westbrook-Ikhine, and Jacob Hollister's twin brother, Cody Hollister, all as like slight values in our projections, just because the matchup is so bad. And the team has been, look, the Titans offense is good. We don't want it to be, but even without Derrick Henry, they've still put up some points.
The issue with Hilliard right now is that McNichols is going to play. He's practicing.
Is going to come back.
So now you have Hilliard, McNichols, and Donta Foreman. And do we really expect Hilliard to have as big of a role as he did against New England in a game where they were just down the entire time? If they're up in this game, that would strike me more as a Foreman game. I don't know. I could be completely off on that, but that's my sense of it.
I'm with you. I think they view Foreman as like the Derrick Henry facsimile, and they view McNichols and Hilliard as the passing down guys. But I think that with the removal of Adrian Peterson, I think it should be pretty firm that Foreman gets most of the early down work and the goal line work.
What do you think is going to be the most popular Bills Buck stack? Brady, Gronk, Diggs?
No, Brady, Godwin, Diggs, bring back.
You think a triple stack is going to be the most common of these?
That's not a triple stack. That's a single stack with a bring back.
What? Brady, Godwin, Gronk with a bring back? And Diggs.
No Gronk. Gronk will not be popular at all.
What?
Gronk will be 10%.
Really?
Maybe. Yeah. Because we have punts. We got Bates and O'Shaughnessy. So that's just what people do. People love to save at the tight end position.
I mean, I completely understand that. There's another interesting tight end opportunity coming up right now because it looks like Ricky Seals-Jones is going to play for Washington. Obviously, Logan Thomas back on IR. He's out for the season. So
either way,
I like John Bates, obviously, if there's no Ricky Seals-Jones, but the tight end is a role in this Washington offense in the passing game. It doesn't matter who 100%. It is. They get targets. They get yardage. Hopefully they can score a touchdown. That would be the punt that I would want to take. I don't want to play the Irish assassin, James O'Shaughnessy. Like, I don't know how many career games he's played, but he's not good is the problem.
Like, but Dan Arnold is not good either.
Yeah, but Dan Arnold at least seems to have some sort of athleticism. It was leading the league in leading the team in targets with him and Spiro Agnew. Like
O'Shaughnessy led the team. O'Shaughnessy led the team in targets last week.
What, with 4?
6.
Oh, well, so he can have his 3 for 30? Like that's a peak game for him.
That's what he had 6 for 48 in week 1.
So this is what you want to roll out in your tight end spot. A guy whose career this is
I'm
basically
like
the Tevin Coleman of tight ends.
I'm not saying I'm doing this. I think playing these tight ends in tournaments is really bad. But what I'm just telling you is what people are going to do, which is that they don't want to spend $6,000 on a tight end. They want to spend $3,000 on a tight end. So that's what they're going to do.
It's funny because if you pay up for this feels like a week to pay up at tight end. Maybe that's how you can get different if all the chalk is going to consolidate into one place. Like Kelsey, great spot. Kittle, great spot. Gronk, great spot. Andrews, we know, is in a great spot against Cleveland. This is exactly the spot where he kind of goes off in these matchups. Then it's a bunch of nothing when you go down the tight end list until you get to Ricky Seals-Jones at $3,800. I wouldn't, probably is the play. It's probably Foster Moreau at $4,000 after he killed everyone last week.
No, I don't. Because they don't use him the same way that they use Darren Waller. He generally has had like a very short average depth of target. So at $2,700, it's very easy to accept 4 for 40 with a decent chance at a touchdown. And he did randomly have a high ADOT last week, but I think that's more noise than anything else. To me, the tight end play is just George Kittle again. He is going to be the main template of my strategy again this week.
I mean, it worked out last week. My Jimmy G Kittle stacks worked out really well. The rest of my teams, the rest of those guys did not work out really well. Here's the thing for Foster Moreau, though. One of the main reasons he was pretty ineffective last week, although he did have some targets down the field, was he was just asked to block so often, which is just not common for him. In the other game that he filled he
only ran a route.
But in the first game he filled in for Waller, he ran like 90% of routes on dropbacks. Last week, because the Washington pass rush was so good and the Vegas offensive line was so bad, they asked him to block. Now, yes, the Chiefs' defensive line is getting a lot better, but I don't think they're in the same stratosphere, even without Chase Young, of where Washington is with both their blitzes and pass rush.
No, I agree with you. And I also think we will see his snap share probably come up. Like, I think that was just kind of more of a random thing because and also he only ran a route on 65% of dropbacks. Like that just seems weird to me. So but at $4,000 he's like, I don't know, he's break even at best. I at that point I would just much rather play Kittle and play Gronkowski.
So when we go back to stacks, do you have any interest in a Seattle stack?
No interest in stacking, but pretty interested in Metcalf and Lockett as one-offs.
Then why aren't you interested in Russell Wilson?
Because there will not be enough offensive volume in this game to get Russ to like 25, 30 points. They just do not run enough plays on offense. So I would rather use those guys as one-offs in other stacks.
Okay, so let's cross off Houston. That's probably the best way to do that. Dallas and Washington. I mean, Washington has looked better. That game is probably going to be very cold. It's going to be outside. We don't know if Tony Pollard is playing all of a sudden. After weeks of not knowing whether or not Zeke was going to play, whether they were going to rest him. Pollard now pops up with his foot injury. He might not go this week. But outdoor game, but the way to attack Washington is to attack them deep down the field, which I hear Dallas has the required weapons to do so.
Yeah, Dallas does have the required weapons to do that. It's just kind of a matter of if they're feeling it in a given week. You know, they have been one of the more schizophrenic teams in terms of run to pass ratio or pass rate over expectation, and it's really opponent driven. But if if this game does end up getting competitive and you get 35, 38 passing attempts from Dak, I think Dak doubles with CD, Amari, and Gallup. I think those look really strong. And Washington has your bringbacks with McLaurin and whoever ends up starting at tight end.
Yes and no. You could Gibson is the safest bet of all those guys, especially because Dallas's run D is terrible.
Well, sure. And McKissick did not practice on Wednesday. So we're looking like another week of stone cold Antonio Gibson chalk for sure. Any
interest in Atlanta, Carolina outside of Cam?
No, none.
Gage?
No.
Amir Abdullah?
Russell Gage at 5,700 or, Gallup at 5,500, Julio Jones in that matchup at 5,400. and he is, $200 less than Amari, $300 less than Mike Williams. Like, no, I will leave that to other people for sure.
Stack potential in Cleveland and Baltimore for you? Because it's a big no for me.
Literally 0 plays, or maybe a little bit of interest in Chubb if Kareem Hunt it does not play, because apparently Kareem Hunt was injured at the end of their most recent game, but I'm checking his page right now. And no, still no update on if he's been back in practice or not. So I assume he's probably fine.
Yeah, and they're coming off the bye week, so he would have had 2 weeks in order to rest. No word on Jarvis Landry in that game yet, though. I assume he's going to tough it out because he usually does, unless he's on injured
He usually
reserve.
does.
But Anthony Schwartz is still not practicing. It's been like a 3-week concussion for him at this point. Donovan Peoples-Jones, it's tough from the Cleveland side, and Lord knows what's going on with the Baltimore side of the ball. So Jacksonville and Tennessee. Go ahead.
I would say I do not do 130 or 150 anymore, but if I was, I would throw a couple darts on Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think I'd get like 5% of him.
Well, if it works, it's 3 for 140 and 2 touchdowns.
Exactly. Yeah, he just has that really good, it's not a really good role, but it's a really good role in terms of volatility.
Do you think we can squeeze that value out of Hollywood Brown still? Because he's still getting the shots downfield. He's just not catching them.
He's still a top 10 guy in fantasy points per game this year. It's just the Ravens have been really bad. But yeah, I will not be a part of my strategy this week, but I would not nag it.
Tennessee and Jacksonville. Tennessee does have this high total. I just don't know what to do with them.
And they have a shitty defense too. The Titans do. I can see playing pieces from this game, right? Westbrook-Ikhine if Julio doesn't play, Julio if he plays, Marvin Jones, the Irish assassin, James O'Shaughnessy.
Why aren't you just playing their best receiver, Laquan Treadwell?
Look, you joke, but you can. He is actually playable, which is it's absolutely disgusting for me.
Are we going to get some sort of narrative bump for James Robinson after all his teammates are like, we should give the ball to James Robinson. He's good. That's you talked about chalk condensing at all of these positions. James Robinson's going to be completely unowned if he is a lot healthier this week, which theoretically he should be. Hyde put the ball on the ground last week. You could do a Tannehill Julio if he plays James Robinson. No one has that.
So this is my thing. I basically don't care how owned running backs are. I make my differentiations largely at it, in my stacks, at wide receiver, at tight end, and at defense. I have no problem playing the Stone Chalk at running back and grouping the Stone Chalk at running back together, because I think those points are much more projectable and those points are much more secure, and there are fewer guys with great ceilings who don't project well. So James Robinson, not really that interesting to me.
Well, it depends on how you project him. If he's back in his full-time role, this was one of the better running backs in football. He's down in price and he's right in that glut, but he's right in that glut of running backs who everyone else is going to own.
James Robinson has one 100-yard game this year, 1 2-touchdown game this year. He's got 1 game with more than 5 receptions. I think that James Robinson's fantasy bona fides have been a little overstated this season.
Well, I'm just looking at the optimal rates right now for running backs in that range. So when you go to runthesims.com, they run the slate 10,000 times and it gives you an optimal rate. Obviously, it's still early in the week. We don't know who's exactly in and who's exactly out. But of guys in that range, Gibson pops in the optimal 16% of the time. Elijah Mitchell would have been 12% of the time, but obviously he's probably not going to play. Javonte Williams, 12%. Cordero Patterson, 11%. James Robinson, 9%. It's not that far off, and he's going to be legitimately 8 to 10 times lesser owned than all of these guys.
Let's see what I have him in terms of optimal percentage. I have him at 6%, so I'm less interested. I would be more interested in terms of guys no one's playing. More interested in Jamal Williams. More interested.
Why are you interested in Jamal Williams? That's something I don't understand. When you could be interested in James Robinson, who just has a path to more fantasy points. We know how Detroit uses their running backs. It doesn't matter if Swift plays or not. That Williams isn't getting the full-time role. They didn't even pass to him last week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't really know that because against Chicago on Thanksgiving, Jamal Williams had 15 for 65, 5 targets, 5 receptions, and then actually played fewer snaps in that game against Minnesota. I mean, that could be signal, that could be noise. I'm probably more thinking that that is random because he had a big share of the offense when Swift was healthy and when he was healthy. So I am semi interested in going back to him there.
Okay. So Saints and Jets. Taysom starting, Kamara's back.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into the stone chalk players until 30 minutes into the show.
You think everyone's do you really want to run out Taysom Hill with a guy who potentially, like, what we saw Monday night from the Patriots might be the Saints offense this week?
Which is good for Taysom. You don't want him passing. You're not playing him for his passing statistics. You're playing him for his rushing statistics. And I don't think he's going to have any problem running against the New York Jets. Do you?
I don't, but I don't know how Kamara really factors into this. He'll be back. Ingram's out. He's super expensive. First game back in like 6 weeks, and he's going to be uber popular. Like, that seems like pure.
Yeah, I don't think $7,900 for Kamara feels expensive.
I mean, he's the second most expensive running back on the slate. I'd rather pay up to get Eckler.
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. I have Eckler for slightly more points, so I can't say that's wrong, but I feel pretty good about both Eckler and Kamara. Especially now, there is certainly a wider range of outcomes had Mark Ingram been able to play in this game, but because Mark Ingram is not playing in this game, I feel like that's a huge bull signal for Alvin Kamara because that pretty much means he's going to get all the goal line work too.
Well, he gets all the goal line work split with Taysom Hill.
Right. Yeah, but it's the Jets, right? It's very important to remember it's the Jets. Sorry, Cust.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're 5-point favorites and now 5.5-point favorites in this game. And it looks like their defense is going to be back. Like, I don't know. It's a tricky situation because both are independently going to be very popular. No one's playing them together, right? Because Taysom's not a check down guy.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara has averaged, I think, 4 targets per game in the games that he played with Taysom Hill, which doesn't feel great. I would not be playing them together, I don't think.
Well, let me ask you, in terms of your optimal rate, how does Mixon compare to Alvin Kamara? I know Mixon's dealing with this injury, but he's probably going to play. Like, where do those two compare in terms of optimal percentage? Because I actually have Mixon 0.2% higher.
10% to be optimal for Mixon, 16% for Kamara.
Wow, you've really, I think you need to go adjust Alvin Kamara's receiving numbers in your projections, pal.
I've got him for 19%. You think that's too high?
I don't know if it's too high, but I think you have to factor in pace of this game, that the overall passing, like, there might be 15 passes in this game for the Saints.
I mean, I have the Saints with a pretty aggressive run to pass ratio, one of the most aggressive run to pass ratios of any team and in fact, I think I have them more rush heavy than every team other than Baltimore and Cleveland.
You should have them higher for this game in particular. Like, you could be even looking at a 65, 35, 70, 30 split.
Sure. I mean, it is, again, you're actually making my own point back to me, which is that it's the Jets.
Sure, but at the same time, like, the Saints have not really moved the ball all that well on offense, that they might just want to play some D, churn out some first downs, that if you don't get touchdown luck with Kamara, he is not worth his price.
Yeah, but can he get 100? I mean, you need touchdown luck anyways, but Kamara can get 20 without a touchdown as well.
I mean, I don't think with Taysom Hill at quarterback, he can get to 20 without a touchdown. No, I don't think he can.
That's true. Let's go back. Let's go back and look at that Denver game last year, because it's basically the same thing. And let's see what happened in that game, because honestly, it's been so long now, I don't remember.
I feel like Latavius had like 4 catches in that game.
So Latavius had 19 rushes, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kamara had 11 carries, 54 yards, 2 targets, 1 reception. But there's no Latavius now, so looks like a pretty big workload for our dude.
Oh, sure. I think in order for him to get to the numbers you're talking about, he needs 25 carries in this game, which is well within the range of outcomes. Probably like a median outcome for him.
And they actually showed willingness to do that with him this year for the first time in his career. Kamara was trending to having the most touches in his career, and they are still theoretically live for the second wild card. They're technically only a game back of the second wild card right now.
Oh, listen, if they can get their defense back healthy, I think that they could, I don't want to say coast to the playoffs, but they're a bad matchup for a lot of these like lesser Rands in the NFC, and like teams like the Jets, they should eat up defensively. But as soon as they're, like we saw it in the Eagles game, like they had missing like 4 defensive starters, they sucked on defense all of a sudden. So that became a real problem for them. Like as long as Davenport's back, Lattimore's healthy, I think they're going to be fine. But this is going to be a very slow-paced game. Like, Zach Wilson is awful. I mean, if you really wanted the contrarian stack of the week, just Elijah Moore, Zach Wilson, and Jamison Crowder, Alvin Kamara, and just hope points are scored.
I mean, I'm not playing Zach Wilson, but I am comfortable playing Elijah Moore, I think.
I mean, no Corey Davis. Is Keelan Cole activated from the COVID list yet? I don't think he is.
I will find out. And Keelan Cole is returned to practice, so he's activated.
All right, so that might cut into a snap share a little bit. Not much, because Elijah Moore is going to be out there. I think as a one-off, Elijah Moore is probably the guy that you want, although I think Crowder may make more sense in this particular matchup. All right, we finally got to the Chargers. We spoke about them off the top in terms of their injuries. However, Giants side, anyone? Like, I can make a compelling case for Barkley. It's not a good case. It's compelling, though. I can talk you into it. I just don't know if I have the guts to do it.
I mean, the workload is decent. I mean, Devonta Booker siphoned off a little bit more than you'd like, but I mean, how many running backs can get 10 targets on a given week? Barkley got 9 targets last week. I think that's kind of how they plan on using him. Really, the bigger issue seems to be, and you never thought you'd say this, he just looks like he doesn't have any juice. I mean, he just is not gaining any yards. And the thesis behind the Barkley play used to be that he could actually overcome the frigid offensive environment because he was so singularly talented, and now that does not seem true anymore.
So this is from the Mayo Media newsletter, which everyone can subscribe to for free down in the description of this video and or podcast. But here it is. Barkley's last game with 60 rushing yards, Davis, was in 2019. Javonte Williams gets the Lions. He's $100 cheaper. Arrested Chuba Hubbard, who we didn't even talk about, nor do I want to, is $100 cheaper and has a better matchup when you go on to DraftKings and like scroll through everything. None of the Titans running backs are more than $5,300, and they have the Jags this week. Like, it just, everything is lining up, and he's burned people the last 2 weeks because people were taking a shot with him. I think it's worth burning a few lineups on Barkley. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I get it from like a game theory perspective, and certainly, you know, there are universes where he can, outscore Gibson, who's priced right next to him. But again, like I was just saying, like I tend to play the running back position more aggressively with the chalk and find lower cumulative ownership for my lineups elsewhere. So, even if my running backs get to 70% cumulative ownership, I'm comfortable with that, knowing that I can probably still be under the 100% cumulative ownership with all the other positions combined, which is I had a lineup that was very close to a bonk last week that I played the 3 most owned running backs, but everyone else I had was single digit owned.
Okay. The Giants running backs or receivers haven't scored a touchdown in 5 games. That's
5 games.
That's problematic. So Niners and Cincy? Is that like sneaky shootout potential?
That's my game this week. I wondered. I knew we'd take so long to get, but that's the game that I'm attacking this week. Very comfortable playing Burrow.
You're not
undecided.
Hold on. You're not concerned about Burrow's finger at all?
I mean, if he gets into practice, I don't know. He's fine. He'll get so much Toradol in him that he won't even feel it, right?
Yeah, I would say it's more like a grip issue rather than anything else. But if it's going to decrease his accuracy, this seems like a perfect spot to play Chase. Like eventually Chase is going to catch these balls that he was catching earlier in the year and score 45 DraftKings points.
Well, it's flip-flopped, right? Where everyone was off T because T sucked and he couldn't convert any of his deep targets, and then Chase was chalk, and now T has had 2 good games in a row, so we're going to see the ownership flip again. And I also think that people are going to be off of Brandon Ayuk because he just was not great last week. But I mean, he still was second on the team in targets. He did have 1 horrible drop, but I think both Ayuk, Kittle, Chase, and T all look like very strong plays to me in conjunction with one or the other quarterbacks. I mean, Jimmy has a lower ceiling than Burrow does, but this is my sneaky game of the week, and it's going to provide leverage on all of those teams that are playing Hasty and or Jeff Wilson Jr. Or honestly, I think you can play Hasty even in a game stack here because he is so cheap.
He is, but that gets you away from him if he's going to be as popular as you say he is. I'd rather just completely dodge it and go the other way, and hopefully I hit my ceiling outcome.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that. And look, there are some pivots at the running back, right? Josh Jacobs only like 11%. He doesn't have to deal with Kenyon Drake anymore. I think Jalen Richard's still on the COVID list. I haven't seen an update on that. We haven't talked about him yet, but what are you doing with Javonte? Like because Melvin Gordon is going to be back, but what do we think they do? Do we think that old man Melvin Gordon comes in back to a 50-50, or do we think it's more like a 70-30? Like, what are we anticipating there against the Lions?
I would say that there is a 43% chance Melvin Gordon outscores Javonte Williams this week.
Honestly, I think 43% is like the right number. I think that sounds about right.
Which means you probably can't play Javonte Williams. I mean, you can, but I don't know. You're really. I'd rather play. I'd rather play Josh Jacobs.
Yes. Yeah. Which it feels crazy, but I think you're right. We haven't talked about that game at all either.
I was saving that for last.
Yeah. The Chiefs, they've become this boring, disgusting run first team. But their best offensive game this year did come against the Las Vegas Raiders.
I think that's the stack, the triple stack, the very obvious triple stack with the Chiefs. Bring it back with Jacobs and or Moreau, I suppose, or maybe Renfro, whatever you want to do. I think that do you believe in this Chiefs defense, or are they just kind of on a hot run right now? No, of course. Of course, I don't believe in the Chiefs defense. It's all random and luck driven, and the offenses that they have played. So in this run where theoretically their defense has been really good, these are the quarterbacks they played: Teddy Bridgewater on the road, injured Dak Prescott without Amari, Derek Carr, Jordan Love, Daniel Jones. So no, I don't believe it at all. Here's the issue with the Chiefs-Raiders stack: Mahomes, Jacobs, Hill, Renfro, Kelsey. Jam all those guys into one lineup. You have 3,400.
So expensive.
You have 3,400 left per player.
Yeah, they're extremely expensive. So you definitely will need some of the value. I mean, you have to play Byron Pringle probably.
You don't have to play Byron Pringle. You don't have to play him. You can just not overload the game. Let's just take out Tyreek. And we'll take out Renfro. We just go Mahomes, Kelsey, Jacobs.
If I'm playing Mahomes, I am 100% playing Tyreek with him.
I mean, it feels like you have to, but you don't have to if you really don't want to. Tyreek's been bad.
Kelsey's just not the same guy, man.
But Tyreek is?
Yeah, Tyreek is athletically and physically the same incredible player he's always been. I think it's pretty clear that Kelsey athletically is not the same guy.
He seems hurt.
Yeah, I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's old. Like, I don't know what the deal is, but I don't have any of those qualms about Tyreek. I mean, Tyreek physically seems fine. And I don't think the Raiders have any cornerbacks either. Yeah,
that's tough. Their defense is pretty brutal at the moment. Running backs for value plays, if we're looking at one-offs: Jacobs, Fournette, Gibson are probably the best three.
Yeah, Fournette, clearly the top. Gibson, clearly, I think the second. And then I think, depending on your personal feelings about Eckler versus Kamara, those are the third guys. And then I think Jacobs will be very popular, especially if Jalen Richard is not activated from the COVID list.
I mean, Jalen Richard, shout out to Jalen Richard, who was anti-vax before anti-vax was like a real trendy thing.
Yeah, he was like anti-vax, like all vaccines.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So he did not practice on Wednesday. So I think we're looking at an all-time like late week chalk update here on Josh Jacobs.
Now, in terms of chalk, like, how popular do you think that he gets? Because he's in this range with a lot of other popular running backs. Like, how popular is the Gibson Jacobs combo going to be? Because independently, they're both going to be popular.
Very popular.
Paired together, you think it's going to be pretty popular? Well, okay, why not Zeke then, if Pollard sits?
Because Zeke is fat and slow and injured.
I mean, he's pretty cheap.
People will play him a little bit, but I mean, his yards per carry the last month of the season, 3.5, 2.8, 3.6, 2.9. His max rushing yards has been 45. His max receiving yards has been 36. He has 3 touchdowns the last 4 weeks, but I mean, he has not had a 30 fantasy point game yet this season. Now, clearly his upside gets way higher if Pollard doesn't play because he's going to get all of the receiving work out of the backfield, but I'm not meaning to FUD Ezekiel Elliott because I do think will be a very strong play if Pollard doesn't. But the answer to how does he not get there seems pretty clear, right?
It does. And I would say the same thing about Cordarrelle Patterson, but sneaky, the Panthers are a bottom 10 run defense. Like, is Patterson on anyone's radar this week?
No. And it feels like he never is. It feels like for whatever reason, people still don't want to buy the Patterson phenomenon. But I mean, you want to talk about a 3% on play that can legitimately break the slate. Cordarrelle Patterson is your guy. I mean, he can get the bonus. He can score twice. Like I think he looks like an incredible play.
Yeah. So Gibson and Jacobs, like everyone else, are probably my 2 favorite plays at running back. Fournette and Eckler from the higher end. Patterson, Barkley, and James Robinson are probably my 3 favorite pivots. I don't know if I want to pay down at running back, even if it is Ty Johnson with Tevin Coleman out, whether it is JaMychal Hasty. I just think I'll find value somewhere else.
I'm just going to let you know that you're playing JaMychal Hasty. You're going to get there on Sunday morning. You're going to be making your lineup on the shitter and you're playing JaMychal Hasty. I'm forecasting that for you.
Well, when we get to the shitter guy lineup, maybe we'll figure that out. Should we play like, I don't know, Devonta Freeman or something? Rex Burkhead? Freeman is getting like this insane workload. Like Devonta Freeman is scoring like 15.5 fantasy points per game since Latavius Murray got injured, which I legitimately feels insane. But he's getting goal line carries. He's getting passing down work. Like he is kind of having like a low key version of, do you remember that the 2019 Mark Ingram season, basically? Little bit. He is on the every other game plan right now.
Yes.
It's like
he is.
Good game, awful game, good game, awful game, good game, awful game. So he's due for an awful game right now, but I just don't know if I can.
And he was bad against this exact same team at home against Cleveland. 16 for 52, 1 reception for 8 yards.
Yeah. Rex Burkhead. Interesting. Amir Abdullah, $4,800. I like him more than I like Hubbard.
Yeah, he would be the guy I would play because I think he's going to get the passing downs. And I don't know that the Matt Rule stuff was so weird where he was like, oh yeah, we had to fire what's his name because he didn't want to run the ball enough. That was so bizarre.
It feels like there's probably something more to that.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel that incentivized to play either one of them. If I thought one of them was going to play 70% of the snaps, I'd be way more into it, but does not feel like that's going to happen.
The only other one that I'm kind of looking at here, like I mentioned Rex Burkhead, but like he couldn't even crack 50% of the snaps last week. They were playing Jalen Samuels and Royce Freeman.
What
are the Texans doing?
Nothing about what they've done has made sense to me for the last 6 months. So I don't know why it would start making sense now.
I suppose that's true. Let's move to receiver. One-off plays. Points per dollar, I guess we're looking at who? Mike Williams, I guess, probably is the best value on the slate at $6,000 if he plays, if Keenan Allen doesn't play. Like, will his status be in flux long enough that it will quell his ownership, I guess is the question.
No, I bet we'll know by, because of the way that testing works, I bet we'll know on Keenan by Friday.
Yeah, but will we know about him by Saturday and Sunday?
I guess maybe not. Maybe it will be in flux enough. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I don't know. That it just feels like one of those situations that's so unknowable because there are so many different permutations as to how it could play out.
When we talked about the Cincy and San Francisco game, we didn't mention Debo. Debo might play this week.
If Debo plays, he is, I believe the kids would call it a jam.
Yeah. Also, take Hasty out of your lineups if Debo is active. He might be their starting running back.
No, I don't. I think Hasty will still get, Debo will get he'll get like 9 carries.
Yeah, that's not good for Hasty, by the way.
The team they want to run 40 times.
Yeah, they might not have that luxury against Cincinnati.
I mean, in Debo's best rushing game on the season, which was that game against Minnesota, Eli Mitchell still had 100 yards and a touchdown.
Okay. $8,000 a lot to pay for Debo coming off a groin injury.
Yeah, but he's going to be, he literally is going to be in this stone cold, amazing spot. And he is going to be 3% owned, maybe.
Yeah. I'm looking at it now, just like the actual value receivers. I mean, your boy Chenault, who sucks. He's 4,300.
It's tough.
You can waste some lineups with him if you really wanted to. Josh Palmer and Guyton are way down there. You mentioned Pringle, $3,200. I don't know if this is where I want to go. I might just live in the mid tier this week. How popular do you think CD is going to be?
Not popular. Because he never projects that strong. None of the Cowboys wide receivers project that strong because their target shares are at such an equilibrium. But obviously from a ceiling potential, all of them have the ability to go for 30.
Probably don't want to play any of the cheap Saints guys, even with Harris out with his DUI suspensions, because I don't think that Taysom can throw the ball. So that's tough for like Trey.
Oh, I missed that Harris was out.
Oh yeah, he's got a DUI, 3 games.
I mean, I remember the DUI. I just thought he was never going to end up getting suspended.
No, it's not.
So I don't know. Maybe it is the Jets, right? It is the Jets. I mean, maybe this is just more. Maybe this is just more fuel to the fire that they're just gonna make the Patriots look pass heavy.
Maybe, and like if he'll legit can't throw, then I don't know what we're doing here. But like Traquan would be my guy, I suppose, if I had to, but I don't want to go down that road. Josh Reynolds is $4,100. I don't know in a GPP if you really want him, but I think for cash games, he's pretty safe.
Oh, no. You think Josh Reynolds is safe for cash games?
Yeah, I think that he just basically lock him in for like 11 points at $4,100.
Well, I mean, I would be surprised to play him in cash, but he did get 7 targets, 83%. I mean, the problem is he got out targeted by Amon-Ra St. Brown last week, and they probably are not going to throw near as much this week.
You don't think they're going to throw as much? I mean, that was a game they were winning the entire time last week. Now they're 8-point dogs again against a better Denver team.
So Goff threw 41 times last week. That was his 3rd highest attempt total of the year. I would be surprised to see him throw 40 times in this game. Very surprised, I think.
All right, then where are we going for the cheap guys?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there is a cheap guy that looks like a cash game play. Gallup, I really like. Pringle is kind of the tournament guy because McCole Hardman has been demoted to like a 10% snap share guy. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, as a tournament dart. I like all the Cowboys wide receivers as one-offs. I like Metcalf as a one-off quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know. They're just not that many high scoring game environments this week. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to pick good one-offs,
Well, the problem is, like, if we want to play one of these stacks from the higher end games, those guys are too expensive that you legit can't afford the $5,000 receiver. So your entire construction gets blown up because we just talked about running backs. There's no running backs to play below like $5,700 unless you use Hasty, who, like I said, I'm good with fading a chalk Hasty, whose role I don't know if it even exists or not. So maybe you just go pure balance and find the cheapest stack possible. That's not horrible.
That always feels like giving up, right?
Yeah, but I mean, both Millie makers last week were won by Minshew stacks.
Right, but that's very different. Minshew was playing the Jets.
I guess so.
So it's probably Taysom.
Yeah, but you can't stack Taysom with anyone. Like, if you're gonna play Taysom for everything you want from Taysom, why don't you just play
play him naked?
Then why don't you just play Cam at 10 times less ownership?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I think Cam is a good play.
Well,
Cam can get 25 like with completing like 11 forward passes.
I mean, maybe you can complete some backwards passes. Like we don't want any Carolina receiver, right? Even DJ Moore.
I mean, if you were going to stack him, it would be with DJ Moore. But I always say this, but I never do it. Like, oh yeah, you can play this cheap running quarterback and then you can just do your game. You can do your Chiefs game stack, your 49, whatever. I always say that you can do that, but I never do it. So I will not give that disingenuous advice. You can do it, but I will come down to Sunday morning and I won't be doing that.
I think that could be a pretty advantageous move. Like, it's unfortunate that we're not seeing Jalen Hurts on this slate because he'd be another one that you could do it with. Although his stack options are always better because he can actually throw the ball. But
he can actually throw a little bit.
But what do you have Taysom projected for ownership right now on a Thursday? Like 15%?
I have Taysom projected for 11% right now.
What do you have Cam at?
I have Cam. I can't even find him in here. I have Cam for 8%.
Okay, well that's a lot closer than I would have assumed it would have been. I just can't fathom people going back to Cam after watching him last time.
Yeah, I mean, people do have that problem, but also, that's where you have to talk about like contest dynamics. Like, people playing in the Millie Maker, they're not, it's just all done by their computers, and their computers are very into Cam Newton. People entering into the PME contest, they're building it by hand, and they remember watching how bad Cam Newton was. So I think that's where you will find the ownership discrepancies.
Tight ends, we kind of talked about this already. All the like the top 4 expensive guys and or Ricky Seals-Jones. Don't play Jared Cook. He's going to be chalky and he probably won't be good.
Well, yeah, he is Jared Cook, so almost certainly he will not be any good. But
I don't think you should play O'Shaughnessy either. But like in tournaments, if you want the guy who has the highest ceiling of all of them, it's probably Uzma in the Bengals and 49ers game. He might have 0 points, but he has the big upside.
He truly might have 0 points.
Yeah, but so could these other way. Realistically, if you play a tight end, what's the difference between 6 points and 0 points? You're losing.
It's all touchdown driven. It's all which one of them can get multiple touchdowns, basically.
All right. Maybe we can save it defense. It didn't look super promising when I was scouting out the defenses to begin with. Like, where's our pay down type option this week?
Jets.
Really? Do you really want to play? Why though? You want to play a defense that's not going to throw the ball? It's just if Taysom does have to pass, you can expect it to be bad. I also think the Lions against Teddy is fine. Teddy's been bad. He's just been taking a bunch of sacks and been terrible. I think I would play the Texans at $2,400.
Yeah, no problem. No problem with that.
Like Texans, I mean, Dallas's offensive line is a lot better now, although the pass rush for Washington continues to be really good. Browns against Baltimore at $2,700, but now we're getting expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I always, what about Cleveland probably with how bad Lamar has been right now?
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. It's early.
I just pulled a Tambo.
You did. Yeah. Just to give me the play. Here's the play. What do you think about it? Well, what do you think about this play? That's the same play.
What do you think about that play?
All right.
Yeah, what can you do?
Let's construct a lineup. The shitter guy.
The shitter lineup.
Guy sitting on the can. It's 12:45 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Few spots left in the Millionaire Maker. Got to throw a lineup together. Where are we going this week?
Well, I'm just letting you know, shitter guy is playing Hasty.
All right. So Hasty's going in $4,000. Yes, he plays in the late game. Shitter guy's not too concerned about the late swap. That's where
shitter guy doesn't care about late swap.
Yeah, he's just clicking that first $4,000. That sounds good to me. Gibson and Jacobs, I'm guessing then.
Yeah.
So Gibson, let's throw him in. Gibson at 6,000. Jacobs in the flex at $6,200. That's a really good price. All right, so we have $5,600 remaining. What's the quarterback? Where are we going with the quarterback? We playing tape. Like, who do you have projected to be the highest owned quarterback? Brady?
Brady. Yeah.
So Brady, I think that Gronk's going to be more popular than you think.
I mean, maybe in shitter guy lineups he is.
Yeah, play Gronk. Gronk scores touchdowns. Easy game.
So we're going Brady and Gronk.
Brady and Gronk. Now we have $5,000 left for position. Let's try to save some money at defense. Who is the cheapest logical defense someone could take?
The Lions against Teddy.
Now, do you think shitter guy's playing the Lions defense? Really?
The shitter guy loves Dan Campbell.
No, shitter guy does not love Dan Campbell. Guys who don't play DraftKings like Dan Campbell.
Well, yeah, that's fair. All right, shitter guy.
I think it's Browns.
Sure. Yeah, that works.
All right, so we have $5,800 for 3 receivers. Is there a cheap receiver we can throw in that isn't horrendous? Like a $4,000 receiver or something. Beasley?
I mean, your guy Reynolds would be. I don't know if shitter guy wants to play Josh Reynolds, but maybe.
I mean, he's like the cheapest of the decent options. Like, I'm not really seeing like Crowder, maybe.
I mean, I got Pringle for 9 points at 3,200.
Yeah, but do you think anyone knows who that is?
Yeah, I mean, probably not. No, shitter guy's not playing Pringle. Shitter guy. Probably Nick Westbrook-Ikhine because he's the number 1 wide receiver for the Titans.
Yeah, but I think that more logically points to Reynolds. Everyone watched that Thanksgiving game. He had a good game there. He scored double-digit points again last week. They're big underdogs. They probably have to throw. I think Reynolds is the move here for a shitter guy.
All right, let's do it.
All right, $6,700 remaining for 2 receivers. Who do you have as the 2 highest owned receivers?
Oh, Godwin for sure.
Okay, so Godwin and who? At 6,300.
Sort by ownership here.
Renfro?
Renfro, yeah.
There we go. There's the shitter guy lineup for you. $200 remaining too. That means we can upgrade our defense by $200.
Oh, dude, this lineup is like actually going to happen. Like people are going to be playing this. Like this lineup probably is what's going to win the PME contest.
Well, I mean, it'll have to be split because this is going in the $3 for me. Do you think that people are more apt to play Bengals or Falcons defense over the Browns defense?
Never the Falcons defense. No one will ever play the Falcons defense. People would maybe play the Panthers defense.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth the. I think people Browns defense coming off a bye. Lamar just keeps throwing picks. I think that's probably where people want to be at. All right, so that leaves us with Brady, Hasty, and Gibson, Reynolds, Godwin, Renfro, Gronk, Josh Jacobs in the flex, and in the Browns defense as the shitter guy lineup of the week. Let's chuck that in there.
That is a shitter guy lineup for sure. Like that's actually a lineup people are going to play.
How do you think I should spend my $100,000 in this $3.20 max?
I think you should buy, like a JPEG picture of something that you really like.
Yeah, but can't I just right click and save that instead and save myself the $100,000?
You can, but I don't know how you would profit on that endeavor.
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to profit on it anyway. I thought if I spent the $100K, that just allowed me to say GM to everyone in the morning.
It does allow, but if you right click save, you're not allowed to say GM. It's in the code.
Nah, that's tough. That's a tough scene for me. What else you got going on this week?
I actually had a very I thought entertaining take cast with Dan Bach.
I listened.
The director over there at RotoGrinders. I think if you have been listening to this show for a while and you just are curious about DFS, I think you'll probably really enjoy that show with DB.
Let's see. I just wanted to look up. Treadwell's only $3,400. It's not bad.
It's not Treadwell, and he's kind of like a big body type guy. Like you can talk yourself into him scoring a touchdown for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's if the Jags ever scored a touchdown.
What's your panic meter on Trevor Lawrence?
2 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm not. Some people are really worried. Where's Cust? What does Cust think of Lawrence? Does Cust just think he's a legendary bust?
Well, Cust already called him a bust when the Jets lost the number 1 pick last year. Like Trevor Lawrence sucks. He's gonna be a bust. You gotta run through the Cust cycle in his head. Although he was trying to trade Zach Wilson 2 weeks ago in the first half.
Oh yeah, because he loves Mike White, right?
Well, no, it's just he was playing really poorly against the Texans. Like, get him out of here. Cust will turn on you in a second. Although now he's back all in on Zach Wilson because he had like a good second half against the Texans.
A good first half against the Eagles too.
Well, it wasn't really a good first half. He got set up with 2 gimme touchdowns, and then that was it.
I mean, look, I don't think Zach Wilson is any good, but I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again.
Is there a chance that none of these quarterbacks besides Mac Jones are any good? And even Mac Jones, like maybe he's this version of Chad Pennington with a better arm, which is good.
I mean, that's the thing is like
people always think that when I say Chad Pennington, that's like slander. Chad Pennington was a good quarterback. He was just limited by lack of arm strength. So you give like a better arm Chad Pennington, good quarterback. It's like better Jimmy G.
I mean, you know, like if all of these guys, none of them turn out being like better than Baker Mayfield, that's like actually better than the mean expectation of what you would expect from like a quarterback. Like most quarterbacks that you draft are going to be bad. That's just like the math of it. So if they all turn out to be like multi-year NFL starters, or if 3 of them turn out to be multi-year NFL starters, that's actually like above expectation.
Interesting. Okay. Davis Mattek at Davis Mattek, verified on Twitter, probably verified on OpenSea as well. You can go right click all of his NFTs and then
I'm not verified on OpenSea. Come on, let's get that figured out, guys, over at OpenSea.
Sure. That sounds like something that I will have a lot of sway with. So help out Davis over on OpenSea. So what's the point of even being verified on OpenSea? I don't understand.
Just to flex, right? That's all life is about, dude. It's all about the desire to flex.
And to say GM to people.
And to say GM, Pat.
Well, it's no way. Where I am, it's currently the afternoon now because I am 2 hours ahead of you. GA. GA, bud. Still morning for me. That is what you need. You need to start going GA, bud. That should be your thing. You can start that.
GA, bud. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I need to find a way to make it my own for sure.
And there it is. So I'm giving that one to you. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter. Cheat sheet will be up Saturday on DKNation.com. RunTheSims.com, $100 for the rest of the year. Projections, optimizer, full simulations, DFS, and player props. Easy to figure out. Use code Mayo or /Mayo at the end of RunTheSims.com, and you get 10% off. Listeners League is filling up quick. It's available now in the description, so I suggest you go do that. I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!